The San Francisco 49ers have secured the number 11 overall pick in the 2025 draft after a whopping loss to the Arizona Cardinals. But we're not going to talk about the draft just yet. We're going to talk about some building blocks that the 49ers have currently on their roster, what they should do at defensive coordinator position, and maybe why they shouldn't draft a running back. We may get a little bit into the draft. We're going to talk about all of that and more right here on Locked On 49ers. Let's go.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On 49ers podcast. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, we want to thank all of you for joining us this morning and making this your first listen of the day. Of course, make sure you guys, if you're not subscribed to the podcast right here on YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe to that. Make sure you guys listen to the podcast, the audio version, subscribe to that as well. We definitely appreciate it. Of course, typically it's myself, Eric Crocker, and my co-host, Brian Peacock. Peacock is out for personal reasons. And if you guys don't know, and he broadcasted on social media, so I'll let everyone know, really for the past probably a little bit over a year, Peacock has been traveling back and forth to visit with his father in Visalia. And his father's been battling cancer. And he lost that battle before the 49ers last game ended. So Peacock has been out. Continue to pray for Peacock and his family. And we'll continue to hold it down while he's out until he's ready to return. So shout out to all the listeners. You guys get me going. You guys keep me excited. And I think, for him, when he comes back, he's going to be looking forward to hearing from you guys. Peacock definitely loves the family that he's built personally with the Locked On podcast. He's been doing this for a lot of years now, because I think this is I'm going on year 4 this year. So he's been doing it probably, 3 or 4 years prior to me. So shout out to Peacock, and prayers up to him and his family. Let's talk about these San Francisco 49ers, and they lost yesterday. Big time loss, 24-47 to the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't think anyone had any expectations for that game. And I said, we're not even going to really talk about the game. The game was a moot point. I don't think it had anything to do with anything moving forward. Brock Purdy wasn't out there. There was no Deebo. I don't even think Kittle played like the whole game, or if he played at all. I mean, it was damn near an exhibition game. Excuse me, got tripped up on that word a little bit. It was damn near an exhibition game. And the thing I was looking for most, and what I've really been looking for, especially since the 49ers were eliminated from the playoffs, was just, who are the building blocks? Who are the guys that the San Francisco 49ers should build around? And I think it starts with the defensive side, because there's definitely something that the 49ers should do and how they should build around certain players over that. On that side, 49ers have good players at really every level. Now it's just kind of adding to that, developing a little bit more depth, and maybe, adding a guy maybe throughout free agency that gives them a little punch. But it starts at the top, and it starts at the defensive coordinator position. Nick Sorensen has to go. I think people were really quick to pull the plug on Steve Wilks. I didn't think Steve Wilks was a bad defensive coordinator. Were there certain things that he was trying to tie into what Kyle Shanahan and that group wanted? It was clear that he maybe had a different sense of philosophy, but clearly this philosophy, or this guy, Nick Sorensen, had the same philosophy, or whatever Kyle Shanahan was trying to do, that did not work. And I think we saw that early and often, where it just wasn't clicking. I think a lot of people thought, what, over time, this will work. Over time, throughout this season, Nick Sorensen, he will get better. And he never did. And it got to the point where people started to miss Wilks. And that was one thing with me with Wilks. And I was trying to say in the moment, it's not bad, y'all. It's not bad. Now, was it the same vibes that you got from DeMeco Ryan? Was it the same vibes that you got from Bob Saleh? No. But I thought he did a good job being a coordinator. Was it perfect? Were the 49ers lights out? Did he have a little hiccup? Minnesota Vikings game, calling a 0 blitz right before the half, when they had no timeouts. There were some things I'm pretty sure he would like to take back. But overall, Wilks, I thought he was always solid. And we stated plenty of times on this show that I felt like he was scapegoated a little bit. for some other issues that the 49ers were having, definitely offensively. And I think as we continue to move forward, it's very clear that I think teams are starting to get kind of a read, not even starting to get a read. I think teams have a read on what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. I think teams are jumping all over that, and I think it's making it more difficult, not just for Kyle to get in a rhythm, calling plays, and we've seen it be good here and there. I don't think it's been good at the right time, but teams have kind of figured it out. Second halves have not been good to the 49ers. Second half wasn't good to the 49ers yesterday. Hasn't been good to the 49ers really throughout this season. And how do you improve that? I think a lot of it, and we'll get to the opposite side of the ball and the execution over there. But defensively, this was a bad year for Nick Swanson, and he's got to go. Now, Kyle Shanahan, and we talked about this last year when he was looking for his replacement for Wilkes, and everybody said, it's probably going to be somebody in-house, somebody he's very comfortable with, maybe someone that has been in this system for a while. And, he interviewed guys like Bullocks and some of the other guys that they've had around for a lot of years, and I thought it would be them, but they said, no, we're going to go with uh, evil Kyle Shanahan. I say evil Kyle Shanahan because they kind of, I don't know, they got similar vibes, and then now they got the same little hair tail thing going on back there. But they ended up going with Nick Sorensen. Haven't been around the 49ers for a lot of years. I think 2 years prior to becoming the 49ers defensive coordinator. But they interviewed a guy, and this is where I think they probably should have went. And this is where they went wrong. And listening to him talk, I maybe could figure out why. And I think some fans, when this guy's name came up, got a little emotional over it. All right, so we're going to bring him up in a second. But a lot of people want Jeff Ulbrich. I'm seeing Ulbrich's name flying around. It doesn't sound like the Jets are going to retain Ulbrich, and there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, okay, Ulbrich, that's got to be the guy. He's familiar with the 49ers. He played for the 49ers. We watched Jeff Ulbrich play linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, understands the system, the scheme. He had been under Bob Saleh. He was an interim head coach. So clearly this is someone that they think highly of, the New York Jets. And he was a guy that Kyle Shanahan kind of wanted last year. So a lot of people are going that route. But I'm like, you know what? Don't go with what you're comfortable with. Let's go a little bit away from that. Go with someone that's going to challenge you, and not in a bad way. Hey, you guys come together on schemes and concepts and things that you like to do and how you see the game, but let this guy do his thing. I think that's one of the most important parts of being a head coach, being able to truly delegate and be good at that. As y'all know, I was hired as head coach of high school football team, Stag. And one thing that I do, I have my defensive coordinator over here, so I could call it defense, right? Defense. He may even have a slightly different philosophy on how he wants to run his defense. I'm more of a 4-2-5 guy /4-3 with a hybrid at that star position. It sounds like he may want to go more 3-4. Just get the job done, right? Just get the job done and understand what it is that you want to do and how we're going to attack it and make sure that we're as efficient at it as possible. I think Kyle kind of wanting to tell the defensive coordinators how they should run their defense. Give a guy a little free reign. And don't bring in a guy that you feel like you can tell how to do his job if he does a good job at it, right? You especially at the NFL level, when you're bringing in, let's say, Jeff Ulbrich, you're bringing him in because you know what? I know you're going to do a damn good job at what you do. You're going to have a great philosophy. We're going to be able to build on that. Hey, you let us know the groceries that you need, and we'll let you cook, right? And I feel like he's not quite giving them that. So, yeah, I'll give you the groceries, but I'm going to stand over your shoulder and watch you cook the whole time. I'm not a fan of that. So, well, I think the 49ers should go. And they interviewed this guy last. I think they should go with, I'm looking for the name, make sure I get the name right now. David Merritt. David Merritt. Now, for those of you who remember David Merritt, he's a defensive back coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he interviewed with the 49ers. And he kind of has this confidence, this certain confidence about him, right? But this guy has been under Spagnuolo. They've been doing a terrific job. I think the secondary for Kansas City has been lights out. I don't think that it's been because they just have all these stud back there. They've been doing a really good job with player development, getting guys to buy in to a concept. So if you're able to get a guy over here like David Merritt, who clearly is very confident with who he is as a coach, what he's doing, And I heard him talk about the 49ers, and he was talking about, Brandon Aiyuk. He called him 11 and didn't quite know how to say his name, whatever. And people were upset about that, right, when he was talking about him. But I say, you know what? I think 49ers need somebody like that. Somebody like Dave Merritt that's going to come in there, shake things up a little bit, have his philosophy. It may differ from Kyle Shanahan, but I think that'll be really good. And I love what Kansas City has done on the back end. I think their back end is a big reason as to why they're 15 or they finished the season 15-2 on the season. I don't think this has been an amazing offense by the Kansas City Chiefs, but their defense has been stellar. It has helped them when it is needed to be helped. And I think Dave Merritt has been a big part of that. So bringing in someone like him, I think that would be really good for the San Francisco 49ers. All right, we're going to figure out the defensive coordinator position situation for the 49ers throughout this entire offseason. Next up, we're going to talk about why the 49ers should not draft a running back at 11. And also, for the third segment, make sure you guys get your questions ready. Put them in the chat. I'll be starring them. Any questions you guys have, we're going to do a little Q&A in the third segment. But again, coming up, we are talking San Francisco 49ers draft. Let's go. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. All right. And I think all of us, we all have way too many subscriptions. And I think Rocket Money, they're going to help you find your subscriptions. And they're going to let you know that, you guys are kind of paying twice the amount for a lot of these subscriptions that you don't need. It definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money, they made it very easy for me to track it all down. And it's like almost like having a personal assistant. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. All right. And I mean, come on now. We all want to grow savings, especially after we all got hit with the holiday season. All right. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's a subscription that your spending habits are really bad on, or even goals that you just want to hit this year. Building up a savings account, maybe starting to invest some money somewhere else. Rocket Money, they're going to help you save that money to be able to put some stuff away. And members are saving up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. All right. For me, one of the best features that I think about this is the subscription tracker that they have. All right. I've used it to cancel some of the services that I had that I didn't even know was going on. And I've already saved a ton of money. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. All right. No more stressing about budgeting every single month because Rocket Money is going to help you. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. Rocket Money/locked on. All right, y'all, we are getting into the draft. We know now the San Francisco 49ers have the 11th pick in the draft. And a lot of people got really excited about Scattero. I get it. Scattero, running back, Arizona State. I got to watch him when he was at Sacramento State. He played with a couple kids that I trained. Shout out to my guy. Who did I have at Sac State, man? I got a few different kids, but Jay Gippy. All right, Jared Gibson. He's over there. And there's been a few other ones. So, you watch this guy who's doing a lot of different things for Sacramento State. He's balling. I'm like, man, who is this white dude toting this rock? Then you kind of dive into who he is. And man, I mean, he ran for over 3,000 yards in high school, leading his team to a state championship appearance. I mean, this is a guy that's been running really hard, running well, and he goes to Arizona State. I had a kid I coached, Riley Brown. He went to Arizona State. I'm like, man, I don't know if he should go to Arizona State because that Scattero just transferred over there from Sacramento State. And Scattero, he's as advertised. One thing I really loved about him, he does not lack confidence. And I loved hearing him talk about how he felt like he was the best running back in the nation. And once people started to find out he was a San Francisco 49er fan, everybody watched the playoff game performance that he put on, threw a touchdown, running for touchdowns. I mean, just a bulldozer, catches the ball very well, had a nice chicken wing at the top. For those of you who don't know what a chicken wing is, when receivers are running a route and the defensive back is on them, they kind of use their elbow a little bit to create separation at the top of the route to catch the ball. And you don't want to push off. You don't want to extend that arm. They'll call offensive PI. But he uses his body, nice chicken wing, create separation. I'm like, man, there's a little nuance to this kid's game, even in the passing game. A lot of people are like, man, Kyle Shanahan, this is his type of back. And I think people are expecting him to go really high. I don't think he'll go at 11. At 11, 49ers, they definitely have to draft an edge rusher, an offensive tackle. I'll be the first to tell you, I don't think that the 49ers should I don't think they should force anything, but that's what I'll be looking for. Who is the best available offensive tackle? Who's the best available edge? Do those guys fit what we want to do offensively or defensively? Is it a tackle that can move extremely well in space? Is he getting to the next level? How is he in run blocking? Right? If I'm the 49ers, that's what I'm looking for. Who could be that guy? Potentially play guard the first year, slide out to the outside, play left tackle when Trent Williams ultimately retires in a year or two. All right. But I would go that route over any running back at that position. And I understand people want to go best available. I think best available left tackle and guard that fits what you do very well. But the reason why I would not go running back there, did anybody watch what Patrick did yesterday for the 49ers? Ran for over 100 yards, toting that rock, looked good running the ball. I think we've seen that several times throughout this season for the 49ers. Isaac Grindle ran the ball very well for the 49ers. Jordan Mason ran the ball very well for the 49ers. Where are the 49ers getting these guys? Well, Jordan Mason, he was undrafted. Patrick, I'm assuming undrafted guy. Garindo, obviously they drafted him in the 4th round and he had some really good intangibles. But for me, the name of the game is production. And when the 49ers traded for Christian McCaffrey, it was not that they weren't trading for a guy that was a terrific talent. It was like, man, you give up a 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, 5th round pick, make him the highest paid running back in the league, re-up on that contract. Now, I'm not saying he ain't worth it because he's a special talent, but the 49ers have done a terrific job of getting a lot of contribution out of late round picks and undrafted backs. Heck, I wasn't for when the 49ers drafted Tyler Price in the 3rd round, when they drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round. Why are you guys doing that? You guys have gotten terrific production out of guys that were 5th round picks, 6th round picks, undrafted guys. So looking at this draft, pick 11, when some people are like, oh, they need to go running back. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. If I'm the 49ers, I am going running back later. And I see somebody in the chat that said, 49ers get picked. You know what? I didn't know where Patrick Taylor came from. If it was Green Bay, awesome. But I know one thing. He wasn't a 1st, 2nd round pick. All right. And the 49ers were able to get him as a free agent, him come in and produce. And that's the name of the game for the 49ers. Get a guy that is going to produce right away. And I don't think it's the running back position. Not saying that they can't, right? I think that there's a chance that the kid out of Boise State is there at 11. I wouldn't draft him. I think he's a terrific running back. Watching him against, Penn State, he ran very hard. He was breaking tackles. I think his contact balance was amazing. I can't wait to continue to dive into the draft and some of these players. But when you look at the running back position, especially me, in the draft, there's some guys I think will be there in mid rounds. All right. So I'm thinking of Amarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Okay. I'm thinking Giddens from Kansas State, terrific back who, he might go 4th round, 5th round. And that would be a legit pickup for the 49ers. Ollie Gordon. I think there were people that thought Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State would potentially be a late day 1, maybe early day 2 pick. Now, I'm not so sure. And I love Ollie Gordon. I love his running style. He's a big back, moves very well, catches the ball extremely. I think he's definitely somebody that, I'm not drafting the guy in the 1st round, man. Give me Ollie Gordon in the 3rd. Definitely give me Ollie Gordon in the 3rd. So at 11, where the 49ers are picking, I think there's other directions they can go. And here's a direction that I love. 49 problems in the chat put up here. All right. He said, yes, on tight end Tyler Warren. So I don't know if somebody else put Tyler Warren's name up there first. Oh, right here. Rod J. He said, I think they'll draft Tyler Warren. There's Tyler Warren. There's another good tight end. Now, this is why I probably would wait to the 2nd, but I don't know if he'll be there late 2nd round. The tight end out of Bowling Green, he was the best tight end in football to me. Swiss Army knife. He can line up at H-back. He's a tight end. He is like Tyler. Tyler Warren does all those things too. Tyler Warren is terrific. And Tyler Warren may be more of a 49er style guy. The kid out of Bowling Green, he's a little bit on the smaller side, where Tyler Warren gives you that size, physicality, can block, catching passes out the backfield. He's a monster, 6'6". Tyler Warren, awesome. Man, that kid out of Bowling Green, if you haven't seen him, he's maybe a little bit more like a move tight end. Somebody that, you don't look at as just hand in the dirt, George Kittle bulldozing guy. But man, I love that kid out of Bowling Green. But yeah, Tyler Warren, he's amazing. He is amazing. So there are a lot of guys that the 49ers, when they start to look at this draft and what they potentially could do at pick 11, Tyler Warren is someone who I feel like he makes the 49ers better. And one big thing that the 49ers have moving forward, and I know we'll talk a lot about that this offseason, but they are not young. They are a little older. They were an older roster this year. A lot of their stars, George Kittle, Trent Williams, those guys are older. Those guys are older. All right. Christian McCaffrey, he's older in running back years. So they got to start getting younger. And George Kittle, while he hasn't slowed down, I think it would be a good idea to start addressing the answer for who's going to be the long-term tight end moving forward now, as opposed to waiting to, all right, it's a year later. George Kittle, he's clearly a shell of himself. And now it's like, all right, let's go find a tight end. Like, no, get that guy now. And now you have your replacement. I think George Kittle would do a good job of putting somebody like Tyler Warren under his arm and showing him the ropes. And a year from now, you let go of George Kittle, who's been an amazing 49er, and he's going to be in the 49ers Ring of Honor. But you got to pass the torch at some point. And if we're talking draft, Tyler Warren, he's somebody who at pick 11, he may be my favorite. Now, again, I talked about you need left tackle, you need you need left tackle, right tackle, you need a tackle, you need an edge rusher, and I would prioritize that over a tight end. But ultimately, you want good football players. And Tyler Warren, he's definitely that. He's definitely that. Killing Me This says, prioritize pass blocking running backs, if anything. There's one thing about Ashton Genty. He is a terrific run blocking, pass blocking running back for sure. He is that. Emiliano in the chat says, just Google it. Green Bay got Patrick Taylor as an undrafted free agent in 2020. So he's been around a while, but again, ran for over 100 yards. 49ers do a terrific job of just getting production out of guys that are like, who the heck is this guy? Who the heck is this guy? All right, coming up next, I want you guys to put your questions in the chat. Put the questions in the chat, whatever you have for this team moving forward. We're going to discuss that, as well as just some nice little building blocks the 49ers currently have. And I will also talk about why I think it was a mistake that the 49ers, they signed Brandon Aiyuk to a big contract. We're going to talk about that and more right now. All right, San Francisco 49ers in the offseason obviously made a big splash signing with Brandon Aiyuk, extending him, paying him a lot of money. And while I think that Brandon Aiyuk was really good, right? I think he was a terrific receiver. I think if he went somewhere else, he may be 100 catch a year type guy, as opposed to like the 75 catches he's getting with the 49ers. I think he is somebody that could demand a little bit more targets. I think another team may move him around a little bit more. I never was really big on the utilization, not just him, but I think 49ers receivers in general, as far as like the pass catching aspect of it, doing different things to feature a guy in the passing game. Maybe Kyle Shanahan would tell you, well, Crock, we have so many guys. Why feature just one? Why not just say, hey, you do this well, you do this well, you do this well, and you guys do those one thing well, we'll get you the ball in that capacity, and that's fine. But I think that's a little bit more of a replaceable guy than someone I'm going to pay $30 million a year to, and I don't plan on targeting this guy 10, 11, 12 times per game. All right, so I would have never signed I would have signed Brandon Aiyuk, but I would have used him a different way if I was going to bring him back. If the 49ers were going to continue to use Aiyuk the way that they did, and that was a big thing that we discussed this offseason. People got tired of hearing me say, I'm like, I don't think they're going to use him. I don't think they're going to pay him because I don't think they plan on using him that way. They didn't. Look, after week 4, people were very upset with the signing. Very upset. Wasting money. Look where he's at. He's not this and that. And I was like, well, they don't use their guys that way. But I will say, I think they have the perfect building blocks in place. And I love Ricky Pearsall and his fit with what the 49ers do. Now, I don't think it's just Ricky Pearsall. I think when you think of Brandon Aiyuk coming back, at least we know he's a really good football player. Let's hope he has a speedy recovery with his injury. All right, but you got him coming back. You got Ricky Pearsall. And I think now he's shown I'm tough, I'm physical, I can make those contested catches, I can free myself up. I'm running good routes at the top. I, I love the swag. And I think we all can see why they call him Slick Rick. I love the celebration yesterday. Did you guys see Ricky Pearsall's celebration after he scored the touchdown? I mean, it was like he held the shoulder that he got shot, then started like dancing with it. I'm like, look at this guy. So love his swag. And Joan Jennings, I figure out a way. I was someone who I'm like, Joan Jennings, he's replaceable. Well, you know what? This season, Joan Jennings showed me a lot. He said, you know what, Crock? Maybe I'm not this flashy guy, but a lot of things that you need me to do at the receiver position, you want me to bring that attitude. You want me to play outside. You want me to play in the slot. You want me to make some tough catches. You want me to pancake guys. Yes, he got kicked out of the game yesterday. I love it because he got kicked out, frustrating guy. I don't think he should have got kicked out. I don't know if the refs were like, you know what, this is a game that doesn't mean anything for either one of these teams. So, you guys doing this BS stuff, we're just going to kick you out of this game. Right. But he pancaked the DB. The DB got upset. And he gets under a lot of people's skin with his energy. But I love it. You kind of need that Draymond Green type guy, even on the football field. So, Joan Jennings, if you told me next year the 49ers went to the season with Joan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, and Brandon Aiyuk as your receivers, and you start to get a little bit more Jacob Cowing. We had some Jacob Cowing sightings yesterday, and I thought, he did well, right? You start to kind of sprinkle him in there and do some of the Deebo Samuel stuff. He can catch the ball out in space. Like, he has game. He doesn't have to be a gadget guy, but I'm just saying, if you're looking at Deebo Samuel as maybe not a long-term building block at the receiver position, I think a guy like Jacob Cowing, he can kind of fit some of the gadgety stuff you do right now, and he continue kind of grow his role as a pass catcher. But I think the 49ers are set up pretty nice at the receiver position. I think they are set up pretty nice. Now, I would not mind having a guy like our guy Isaiah says in the chat. He says, I move Deebo for whatever, and I bring in Slayton and give more counting more reps. I like it. Now, for those of you who don't know, like, who is Slayton? Darius Slayton, receiver for the New York Giants. He's been a terrific deep ball threat. I think he's the perfect guy to say, you know what? I may only have 3 catches a game, but that 3 catches might be 50 yards. Right? Like, that's who Slayton is. 3 catches might be 60 yards. Like, one of them might be a vertical down field shot. So that way, hey man, you let Brandon Aiyuk work that short to intermediate area. You let Ricky Pearsall work that short to intermediate area. I think those guys are going to excel there. Joan Jennings, more of a short game type guy, but get the ball in his hands and some contested catch stuff. And then, by the way, we got Slayton who could stretch the field. I like that for the 49ers. I like that idea. Newt in the chat says Deebo needs to go. Deebo needs to go. I'd say at this point, I'm not for firing a Deebo Samuel or any of these players. I'm not saying cut him, but I could see how this offense can function now without Deebo. And that's not something I thought I would say heading into the season. If anybody was at training camp, you guys saw like Deebo Samuel looked really good. This looked like one of the better versions of Deebo during training camp. He's catching passes downfield. He's running well. He's looking a little slimmer. And the season just didn't go as he would have liked, I'm sure. Did not go. But I think there's another level to Deebo Samuel that he can get to. Maybe not quite that 2021 Deebo Samuel, but I do believe that there's a chance if he goes somewhere else, it may ignite this kind of fire back under him in this spark to give him that kind of tenacity. I thought he had it a little bit in there was a game after the 49ers lose to, got spanked at home. The Rams dropped the ball. I said spanked. They lost by 6 points. But, you lost the Rams game. He didn't have a great game. People went after him. And I thought the way he responded in the next games, I thought it was terrific. And obviously he didn't play yesterday. But Deebo Samuel, he may just need to go somewhere else and light a fire under him. I don't foresee the 49ers going after a T. Higgins, as Eduardo in the chat put. He said, I would trade for Higgins. You already paid Brandon Aiyuk. So I think the T. Higgins situation, that's not happening with the 49ers. It's not happening with the 49ers. The Newt in the chat says, I don't think he hit the age wall. I just mean trade him. Yeah, and I don't think if we're talking about Deebo Samuel, I think there's more to him, but he just has to find that fire. He's got to find that fire. He's got to find that fire and just like really attack the offseason and become the best version of him. When Deebo was drafted to the 49ers, I went on podcasts and talked about it. I had a buddy who was a strength and conditioning coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks. I played on the New York Jets with him at the time. He messaged me about the 49ers getting Deebo Samuel. He knew I was a huge Deebo fan. And he was like, Crock, Deebo Samuel, great player, but tell the 49ers they got to watch his weight because he's a guy who his weight kind of can balloon. And I think we've seen that at different times. If you watch Deebo coming out of college, coming out of South Carolina, I didn't have the thought of wide back. I thought he was a guy that did all those things, but I actually tweeted early on, man, I think DJ Moore is who the 49ers want Deebo Samuel to be. And I think he continued to get further and further away from that. DJ Moore is a guy that has a very similar skill set as Deebo. But I think he continued to, progress, or at the very least not regress as a receiver and pass catcher and do those things, even with not having great quarterback situations. I think Deebo Samuel regressed as a pure receiver. I don't even have to say think. It is what it is. He has regressed. He has regressed as a pure receiver. And I think that was something that we kind of foresaw coming with some of the comments that he made. But I'm rooting for Deebo. He's been one of my all-time favorite 49ers to watch. When he's on. And he was really terrific. Edgardo on the chat says, breaking news, the Jets requested to interview the 49ers QB coach to be their head coach. All right. Is it Brian Greasy still? Brian Greasy is the 49ers quarterback coach. Okay. I like it. Bobo in the chat says, playing wide back took years off of Deebo Samuel's career. Kiddle Me This in the chat says, Turpin, he can be a deep ball threat and the returner we have been missing for years too. I agree. The 49ers, they've never, they drafted Dante Pettis, and Dante Pettis was a terrific return guy, obviously in college for University of Washington. But when the 49ers drafted him, it was like, I can give his return stuff. Man, he's a receiver. I want the 49ers just go off after a pure return guy. Like Turpin is a pure returner. If he doesn't catch a ball in the game, he probably ain't tripping. Give me my money. I'm going to crib some stuff. I'm going to return some kicks. I'm going to flip field position. He is a weapon. That's somebody that I would invest in if I'm the 49ers, for sure. For sure. No Code 49ers says in the chat, what about getting Myles Garrett if he wants out? See, the 49ers, I feel like at each level, they kind of have a high price guy. So for them, it's just being able to build around those guys. You have Nick Bosa on the D-line. That's your high price guy. We'll figure out what happens with, Hargraves and some of these other guys. But Bosa, like, that's your guy. Okay, build around him. At the next level, Fred Warner, okay, build around him. And I love, D Winter still getting out there, flying around. It has to continue to improve in coverage, but I think he got some very valuable reps at the end of this season for Winters. Continue to build around guys like that. But you got Fred Warner at the secondary. All right, Deommodore Lenoir, long-term fixture, I believe, in this 49ers defense. He's going to continue to do really good things. And now you drafted Ronaldo Green. Love Ronaldo Green. I think that's a really good building block. And we'll see what happens at the safety position. But I think the 49ers have guys at each level that they're already building around. I'm not so sure you bring in a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. And I ain't saying I wouldn't. If they can find the money for it, cool. But I'm just trying to make it make sense in my head where it makes sense to be able to bring in a guy like that and pay them the money that they would get. And I think Bobo says it right. Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, they're too expensive, especially if the 49ers are going to be reeing up Brock Purdy, Dre Greenlaw. They need new contracts. So I guess I'll end with this. Who do you like with the 11th pick? We're going to find that out coming up on another episode of Locked On 49ers. We're going to dive into the draft. We're going to continue to talk about this team moving forward and some plans that they should have and see what happens with some of this movement with the coaching staff. All right, I definitely want to thank you all for making Locked On 49ers your first listen of the day. Continue to pray for my guy, Brian Peacock. He'll be back at some point, but until then, we're going to hold it down right here. Locked On 49ers. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, listen to the audio podcast, and we'll be back Tuesday. I have a special guest right here, Locked On 49ers. Let's go.